live from the National News Studio, Sri Lanka.
Good evening. This is the National News Telecast. I'm Uvin Hettiarachi.
A very good evening to you. I'm Sharifah Tahir. Let's take a look at the headlines.
IGP appears before the Supreme Court. Cabinet spokesman says the IGP has been appointed under the powers vested with the President. A loan scheme to revive small and medium-scale entrepreneurs. Uddika Premaratne resigns from his MP post. SC Muthukumarana next in line. 12 billion rupees worth of fuel from Japan to the health sector from today onwards. 2 employees of the Southern Expressway killed after colliding with a lorry. SLTB employees engage in a protest demanding to avert any harassment from private bus workers. Israel launches attacks targeting several parts of East Lebanon.
Now to those and more stories in detail on today's top story. Cabinet spokesman Minister Bandula Gunawardena says that the IGP has been appointed under the powers vested with the President by the Constitution.
He made these remarks by responding to a query raised by a journalist at the media briefing held to announce the cabinet decisions today. Minister Bandula Gunawardena said that the Constitutional Council is the constitutional authority in the country above the Parliament. He said that the President has appointed the IGP under the powers vested with the President by the Constitution. He said that the Constitutional Council approval has been obtained for this appointment. However, he said that this can only be discussed in the Parliament. Speaking about the ongoing discussions with the IMF, the minister said that the President has also invited representatives of the opposition to take part in the discussions. Minister Bandula Gunawardena said that the IMF representatives expected to arrive in our country to discuss on the third disbursement. He said that the President has invited opposition party leaders for these discussions. He said that despite the extended fund facility, foreign resource disparity of $3,911 million will remain in 2027. He said that the country is expected to receive concessionary loan assistance up to $1,428 million. He said that for the rest of the $1.5 billion, the government will have to resort for sovereign bonds in the international market. He said that this move will increase the country's international reserves to $14 billion by 2027, which is currently at 4.7. And he also mentioned that these negotiations and agreements cannot be altered based on the interests of the politicians.
Minister Vijayadasa Rajapaksa says that plans are afoot to introduce an amending concerning the temporary suspension of Parate execution, indicating its imminent presentation to the Parliament. He made these remarks during a press briefing held at the Presidential Media Centre, focusing on the pivotal theme of collective path to a stable country. Minister Vijayadasa Rajapaksa said that the proposed legislative changes signifies a proactive approach towards addressing the legal matters crucial to the country's governance and justice system. He said that to prevent a crisis for businesses and financial institutions, proactive measures are essential. Therefore, the steps must be taken to alleviate the challenges associated with the Parate execution. Plans are underway to propose amendments to Parliament regarding Parate execution to address the concerns. Accordingly, a separate loan scheme tailored for small and medium enterprises is on the agenda, with President Ranil Wickremesinghe lending his support to the initiative.
The cabinet approval has been granted made by the President Ranil Wickremesinghe to create a Children of Gaza Fund in aid of Gaza violence victims. Accordingly, President Wickremesinghe has instructed all ministries and government institutions directed to forego iftar celebrations and contribute to this fund. Furthermore, the public's contributions are encouraged, and to support the health needs of affected children, the government's donation of $1 million will be distributed through official UN agencies to aid affected children. The Presidential Secretariat urges donations from citizens from the Children of Gaza Fund during the month of Ramadan to account number 7040016 at Bank of Ceylon, Tapraband branch by April 11th, and the deposit receipt to be forwarded to 077-973-0396 via WhatsApp.
Cabinet approval has been granted for the implementation of a credit scheme to revive micro, small and medium enterprise sector. The Asian Development Bank has agreed to provide working capital support for the initiative. The proposed program is intended to provide credit facilities to existing micro, small and medium-scale enterprises for further expansion and recovery of their business through the licensed commercial banks and licensed specialized bank at the concessional. Entire project, which has two components. Out of this, 15 billion rupees will be used to strengthen the existing and new enterprises, while the remaining amount of 5 billion will be used to support enterprises under the non-performing loan category. Accordingly, the Cabinet of Ministers approved the proposal presented by Ranil Wickremesinghe, President, to implement this project. Minister Bandula Gunawardena said that the capital assistance from ADB will be extended to commercial banks and licensed financial institutions. He said that the micro and medium-scale entrepreneurs have the opportunity to obtain concessionary loans from the institutions. The Cabinet of Ministers granted approval for a proposal furnished by President to direct legal draftsman to draft the State Financial Management Bill based on the drafted framework of financial rules. Cabinet of Ministers granted approval for granting 2 blocks of land a long-time lease within the premises of Waters Edge Batramulla. Accordingly, 2 roods and 30.89 purchase and 4 acres and 2 roods and 1.6 purchase have been extended respectively to Sri Lanka Navy for boating, riding and rescue camp training activities, and to Asoka Vidyalaya, Colombo 10 to be used as a playground. The approval was granted for the resolution furnished by Minister Prasanna Ranatunga.
The Supreme Court ordered today that the consideration of 7 fundamental rights petitions challenging the appointment of Deshabandhu Tennakon as the acting IGP and the IGP will be taken up again on the 2nd of April. The petitions were taken up today before a 3-member Supreme Court judge bench. Additional Solicitor General Nerin Pule, representing the Attorney General, informed the courts that Deshabandhu Tennakon has already been appointed as the IGP, hence there is no legal capacity to maintain these petitions. Representing the respondent of the petitions, IGP Deshabandhu Tennakon, President's Counsel Ramesh De Silva said that the relevant petitions have been filed challenging the appointment of Deshabandhu Tennakon as the acting IGP. Accordingly, the President, under the recommendations of the Constitutional Council, has appointed acting IGP Deshabandhu Tennakon as the IGP. Therefore, there is no legal capacity to maintain these petitions, and another case should be filed against the new appointment if there are any problematic conditions prevail. Representing activist attorney at law Manoj Nanayakara, President's Counsel Salia Piri said that Deshabandhu Tennakon's tenure as the acting IGP should have been completed by the 29th. Therefore, the court decided to consider the petitions today, and however, the respondent has been appointed as the IGP yesterday, challenging the rule of law. Therefore, he said that since the petition has challenged the appointment of the IGP, legal capacity prevails to maintain the hearing further. Chairman of the 3-member judge bench, Justice Preeti Padman Surasena, said that the special condition has been created related to the hearing yesterday, which are yet to be included into the petitions. Therefore, new conditions should be included into the petitions and then proceed with the hearing, the Justice Preeti Padman Surasena added. Accordingly, the Supreme Court judge bench permitted the petitioners to include the relevant details pertaining to the appointment of the IGP into the petitions and take up the hearing again on the 2nd of April. Meanwhile, President's Counsel Manohara De Silva informed the courts that a motion has been filed requesting permission for 7 Buddhist monks to make clarifications related to the petitions during the hearing.
MP Uddika Premaratne has tendered his letter of resignation from his position as a Member of Parliament. He represented Sri Lanka Podujana Peramana from the Anuradhapura district. He remained as an independent parliamentarian after removing himself from the National Freedom Front. He tendered his letter of resignation to Deputy Secretary General of the Parliament, Chaminda Kaularatne, today. Accordingly, the Secretary General of the Parliament is to inform the Chairman of the Election Commission that the seat of MP Uddika Premaratne is vacant. The next in line from Anuradhapura district preferential list is SC Muthukumarana. He has obtained 38,895 votes in the 2020 parliamentary elections.
National Movement for Social Justice says that the abolition of the executive presidency has been reduced to an election slogan at present. The representatives of the movement, during a media briefing held yesterday, said that true democracy can only be achieved by
I am Rohan Samarajiva, representing the National Movement for Social Justice, different political parties, to state their positions regarding ending the executive presidency, this all-powerful, all-centralizing executive presidency position, this system of government, and replacing it with something that is more collective and that is more open to flows of different kinds of information. So we see that there has been a broad set of actions for people, for different political parties at different times to take steps to end this pernicious system that we have in our constitution. Now, as far as the NMSJ goes, the National Movement for Social Justice goes, from the very beginning, this has been a central demand, a central plank in the platform put forward by the NMSJ. We had several discussions on this subject in various locations, and we even had a specific strategy discussion about how we should approach this. If you look back at the 17th Amendment, if you look back at the 19th Amendment, these were all done under conditions of uncertainty about, you could even say, some degree of political instability, and none of them were intended to postpone or sabotage election. Very clearly, that is not what we have been doing.
Minister Jeevan Thondaman assured that there are no plans to increase water tariffs this year. He highlighted that the implementation of any proposed water pricing formula would be executed in a manner sensitive to the well-being of the populace, ensuring that minimal distress, and he made these remarks during a press conference held at the Presidential Media Centre yesterday under the theme Collective Path to a Stable Country.
As of now, the status of the water tariff formula is we are to seek cabinet approval for it, and we will also be submitting it to the COPE committee and also Parliament to get their views on the topic. And other than that, with relation to the water sector, recently we were able to open up the Anuradhapura North Water Supply Scheme. Water is an essential resource. We need it for farming, which is a priority. But at the same time, just because we need it for farming, it doesn't mean we should not be giving drinking water. Both are equally important to us. There are many issues where we are coming into conflict with the irrigation department. We were able to come up with a plan, and wherever these issues are, we are sitting and discussing with those farmer organizations, with the stakeholders involved, and we are providing immediate solutions. And I can proudly say, late last year, we completed all 4,000 houses, despite the economic crisis. And now, that's why we were able to start the 10,000 now. So, with that, I mean, obviously with support from various officials as well, but we've done that. But however, as I mentioned, building these houses alone is not going to solve the problems of upcountry. What is needed is rights to ownership of land. And we are not saying it from an emotional standpoint of view that, you give us rights to ownership of land. There is a clear framework. In every country where there's a marginalized and vulnerable community, the first step to social and economic inclusion is rights to ownership of land. Only if they have land which belongs to them can they be involved with society.
In the meantime, the fuel management information system related to the health sector was officially launched today. Accordingly, Sri Lanka will receive 12 billion rupees worth fuel from Japan under the system. The event was held at the Health Ministry Auditorium, and it was held with the participation of Minister Dr. Ramesh Pathirana and Deputy Ambassador of Japan in Sri Lanka, Atsuki Kotaro. The newly launched system expected to distribute fuel to all health institutions in efficient manner. Vehicles which had acquired fuel, quantity of fuel and the relevant health institution and various other information will be included in the system, and the relevant system implementation is carried out under the direct supervision of the Japanese government. Symbolizing the fuel distribution, fuel was dispensed to ambulances at the fuel station situated in Flower Road, Kolpiti.
This morning also, apart from the donation of the Jayawardena Pro Hospital to Sri Lankan people, there will be many donations like that. In the morning also we had discussions with JICA. They were to give us 5 cath labs to identify 5 hospitals in the country. Now after the rescheduling of the loans, we should be able to go ahead and get those cath labs also for the benefit of the Sri Lankan people, which is coming at a very decent cost. Therefore, I take this opportunity again to thank people of Japan and the ambassador of Japan to Sri Lanka, and especially acting ambassador to Sri Lanka, His Excellency Katsuki Kotaro, who had been a friend of Sri Lankan people during his tenure as the deputy ambassador in Sri Lanka. He's a very humble gentleman. He's studied at Harvard University, and he was also very much moved by the fact that Sri Lankan people were going through, very difficult time in 2022, partly because of erroneous financial and policy decisions that government made, but also preceded which is followed by the COVID pandemic, which burned fingers our nation. So that at that time, they were also finding very difficult to find fuel. Country was going through a very tough time in relation to finding fuel, gas, electricity, etc. So at that time, there was social riots, social upheaval. So country was going through a very difficult social and political time. The bond between two countries have gone from strength to strength during last decades, and we can see the future would be much better in time to come in relation to the relationships that we develop between two countries.
This assistance, I think, for Japan also was an epoch-making one, because we didn't have too much experience in doing a grant aid for fuel assistance. But I think it came from 2 reasons. One is the importance of the health sector. Japan's development policy also has been deeply rooted in investing in human capital, and typically through health and education. And so we have always cherished that, and our universal health coverage is a pillar of our investment in the people. Likewise, I think in this country, the health sector, the importance of the health sector, there's no need to mention about that. So I think it's very important for us to assist the health sector. Then secondly, 2022, we were here in Colombo also, and we are fighting to get diesel to put into a backup generator, and so it was a struggle. So I think through that experience, the health sector, that's how it clicked. But then to actually pass this through our system was quite a challenge. But we are very happy that we were able to donate 5 billion Japanese yen worth of diesel, which is equivalent of 12 billion rupees.
In the meantime, the Ministry of Finance has initiated special measures over the purchasing of paddy during this Maha season. Meanwhile, Minister Mahinda Amaraveera has tabled a cabinet paper requesting to allocate 2 billion from the 5 billion which should be credited to the Agrarian Trust Fund from the Treasury to Paddy Purchasing Board. The Paddy Purchasing Board is prepared to proceed with the purchasing activities following the receipt of 2 billion rupees. The board has said the necessary storage facilities have been prepared in this regard. The Ministry of Finance has taken steps to provide concessionary loans for small and medium-scale rice mill owners for paddy purchasing. Accordingly, concessionary loans between 25 million and 50 million can be obtained from the 9 billion rupees that have been allocated in this regard. The Department of Agriculture has also declared a minimum rate for paddy. A kilogram of nard paddy is moisture level of 14% will be at 100 rupees, and a kilogram of paddy rasamba is at 120 rupees.
A group of SLTB employees engaged in a protest action in front of the Mint directed by the private bus workers. Minister Bandra Gunawardena, during a discussion with the protesters, said that the road terrorism against SLTB public service should be defeated. The protesters alleged that SLTB bus drivers and conductors often faced harassment and other assaults on various occasions. Minister Bandra Gunawardena said that he will interfere to resolve this issue. Minister Bandulu Gunawardena said that a number of assaults were reported from various parts of the country during the past weeks. He said that he had already informed the police authorities to take necessary action in this regard. He urged the workers not to engage in protest actions as they are providing a public service. He said that the private bus service providers requested to use the central bus stand to park their buses. However, he said that he will not allow such a move as long as he is the subject minister.
The third volume of the collection of academic writings, Jathika Madhya Sankathanaya, was launched today. The ceremony was held at the Government Information Department Auditorium. The book was launched with the participation of Minister Bandulu Gunawardena. The book has been compiled as a collection of various segments in modern journalism and mass media. The editorial board of the book was comprised of university lecturers and intellectuals. One of the main objectives of this compilation is to align media craft of the country towards the right path, along with the government policies to instill a quality media culture. State officials, intellectuals and media heads were present at this occasion.
My Thoughts book, authored by Santhoshini de Soisa, aims to address the increasing global warming and its impact. A media briefing was held in this regard at the Centre for Society and Religion in Mardana yesterday. An arts exhibition is also expected to be organized in parallel to the book launch.
I'm Santhoshini de Soisa. I've written a book about my thoughts. They are aphorisms based on how to change your attitude to achieve happiness. I think all of us crave for happiness, and we are, as humans, we are social creatures. So what we really want is to connect, have good relationships, have acceptance in society, and have understanding. My book is about changing your attitude towards achieving happiness, because happiness doesn't fall on our laps. We have to evolve and change our attitude towards life. My paintings are mainly to display the way our human beings have treated the planet. My paintings are in color because I believe that in every bad thing there is something good. So I hope to have an exhibition and also the launch of my book on the 16th of March.
Now for a look at few local items in brief. Two individuals had opened fire at a restaurant in Colombo 6 this morning. The suspects had fled the scene after the shooting. Reports have indicated that no one else was at the restaurant premises and the restaurant had sustained damage from the shooting. 63rd National Day and the 33rd Independence Day of the state of Kuwait was held in Colombo yesterday. It was held with the participation of the Ambassador of Kuwait, Khalaf M. Dihari, the Minister Manusha Mahanana Kara and Minister Ali Sabri were also present at this occasion. A decision has been reached to shut down the Productivity and Marketing Division of the Agrarian Development Department and establish an export-oriented crop cultivation and distribution unit. The relevant instructions have been issued to the Agrarian Commissioner General by Minister Mahinda Amaravira. Two employees engaged in maintenance activities in the Southern Expressway have been killed after getting hit by a lorry this morning, sustaining severe injury. A protest campaign was organised by several human rights organisations concerning the Gaza in Melbourne, Australia recently. The Human Rights Protection Organisation also took part in the protest. A group of Sri Lankans participated in the protest action. We'll be back with foreign news after a short break.
Terima kasih, Pantamai.
Now to foreign news. First, a look at the Gaza Strip situation. Tensions have escalated as Hezbollah and Israel exchange strikes on the Israel-Lebanon border.
And in the meantime, US President Joe Biden says that he hopes to have a ceasefire in the war between Israel and Hamas in Gaza by next Monday. The swap of strikes came after Israeli warplanes carried out a rare attack on targets deep inside Lebanon on Monday. The rise in hostilities revives concerns that the war in Gaza threatens escalations across the region. The US President Joe Biden's comments come amid reports of some progress in indirect negotiations involving Israeli and Hamas officials. It would involve aid deliveries to Gaza and the release of more hostages taken during the 7th October Hamas attack. Israel has not commented, and Hamas officials have indicated the two sides are not as close to a ceasefire deal as Biden suggested. Israel launched a large-scale air and ground campaign in Gaza after Hamas gunmen killed about 1,200 people in southern Israel. The attackers also took 253 people hostage, a number of whom have since been released. According to news agencies quoting an unmanned source close to the talks, Hamas is still studying a draft framework drawn by France, which would include a 40-day pause in all military operations and the exchange of Palestinians held in Israeli jails for Israeli hostages at a ratio of 10:1.
Terima kutumi, pantamai.
Moving on to sports news, Sri Lanka Air Force Cycling Tour will be held from March 3rd to the 7th. The tour will live telecast on national television.
The 25th cycling tour will be organized in parallel to the 73rd anniversary of Sri Lankan Air Force. This is the first time the tour will last for 5 days. Accordingly, a media briefing regarding the tour was held at the Air Force headquarters. The tour is jointly organized by Sri Lanka Air Force and Sri Lanka Cycling Federation. Sri Lanka Cricket announces that the first phase of the T10 cricket tournament will be held in December.
The tournament, which was scheduled to be held last year, was postponed. In a statement, Sri Lanka Cricket has announced that the tournament will be held from December 12th to 22nd, and 6 teams will feature in the tournament, with each side comprised of 16 players, including 6 foreign players. All matches will be played in international stadiums in the country. India managed to win the 4th Test match against England by 5 wickets. Accordingly, India managed to lead the 5-Test series 3-1. The 4th Test was played in Ranchi. Batting first, England scored 353 runs for their first innings. Joe Root was not out 122. Ravindra Jadeja picked up 4 wickets. India only managed to gather 307 runs for their first innings. Yashasvi Jaiswal scored 73 runs. England's Shoaib Bashir picked up 5 wickets. Subsequently, England was limited to a score 145 runs for their second innings. India managed to chase down the target of 192 runs with 5 wickets in hand.
Terima kutumi, pantamai.
That's it for tonight's English News telecast. Thank you for joining us. Good night.
Good night.